While we wait for MPs to open the gates, a Cuban boy reaches out offering cornflakes. His name is Yoslan O'Farrell. He's been here over a month. Once inside, I've got a tour guide. This is the best of the Cuban camps, he says. Here we live in barracks, not tents. Guards have even set up a playground for the children who don't seem to mind the razor wire. Yoslan, who's still trying to push those cornflakes, is one of some 2,000 Cuban children in Guantanamo. Maria Carla here is 5 months old, and this is her crib, made of metal tubing and plastic fencing. Soon, they'll be needing another one. Mylene Morales says she's been told if her baby's born here, he won't be an American citizen because this is Cuban territory, and he won't be a Cuban citizen because there's no place to register him. Babies born in Guantanamo are children without a country. Life's hard in the camp. It's tough fighting boredom. The military admits the food is dismal. This is supper, lunch, and sometimes breakfast.
No water.
There's been no drinking water for 3 days. The portable toilets haven't been emptied in 3 days. And refugees worry about disease. But mostly they worry about getting out.
As you can see, it's very difficult to even walk around here without gathering a crowd because everybody's got a question, and basically it's the same one. They all want to know how much longer could they possibly be here.
The faithful look to Cuba's patron saint for the answer, hoping that Our Lady of Charity will be charitable and lead them out of here. This cardboard portrait of the Virgin, I'm told, was painted by one of the children. The young artist turns out to be Yoslan, the cornflakes kid. His father tells me they're all desperate, but not desperate enough to go back.
No. Are you concerned that as time grows and these people grow more desperate, that you're going to have problems here?
Sure.
Because they certainly believe that they...
Yes, I am concerned about it. And I see that there are several things we can do in the communications business to help that. And the first is to get a voluntary repatriation mechanism in place so that those who want to go back to Cuba, and there are a substantial number, can leave.
According to the people that we talk to, those numbers are not that substantial. They don't want to go back, most of the people that we talk to.
That's interesting. The facts are that every night we have anywhere between 5 and 10 or 12 who leave the camps in an attempt to go back to Cuba.
The fact is, a dozen out of 29,000 is barely a fraction. The overwhelming majority of Cubans here wants to go to the U.S., or as Lisbeth Martinez's violin would put it, to the land of the free and the home of the brave. As we leave, someone hands me a flower, and a man shouts one final request. Tell Mr. Clinton, he says, we want freedom. Curious eyes peer from behind the concertina wire as we pull up to Camp Macala, one of the makeshift tent cities housing Haitians in Guantanamo. Because life here is one of idleness, visitors are a welcome break from the monotony, and we're immediately swarmed. The children are particularly friendly, even with strangers who don't speak their language. Since I don't speak Creole, but I do speak Spanish, I'm quickly introduced to Besson Duvege, who, like most Haitians here, isn't ready to go back home just yet.
Mientras Aristide no esté en Haití, ustedes no quieren. Until Aristide goes back to Haiti, you don't want to go back to Haiti. No quiere volver a Haití hasta que...
No.
¿Tienen miedo? Are you afraid?
Sí, tengo miedo, sí.
But since the Americans landed, that fear has diminished, and hundreds have volunteered for repatriation. On this day, the Coast Guard cutter Durable is taking 142 Haitians back home, while others wait for their ship to come in.
Does he feel it's safer now because the Americans are in Haiti?
Est-ce qu'on sent plus sécurité parce que Américains en Haïti? Yes.
Those who choose to stay must fight the boredom and monotony any way they can. A kite, a card game, a jump rope. The kids don't seem to mind, but there's something troubling about children playing next to razor wire. Something frightening about a barefoot toddler wobbling past the metal stakes that hold up a tent. A big complaint here is lack of information, not knowing what's going on back in their homeland. This man listens for news on the small radio the Army gave him. The only problem is it picks up only the Cuban stations, and he doesn't speak Spanish. But they do have this, a big screen TV set up in a nearby hangar. 9 to 5, it's turned on to CNN, and about a dozen Haitians at a time are allowed to sit in. It's not much, but it's a luxury the Cuban refugees don't have. It may be the only luxury the Haitians have.
What do you want? You want my shoes?
Yes.
At least 2 boys want my shoes. Another one wants my watch. Looking around, it's obvious they have little to wear. And at dinner time, little to eat.
Hey, come here.
All right.
The food here is another big complaint. This is tonight's supper, vegetable soup.
They get soup, juice, and fruit.
Sometimes fruit, yes.
Sometimes fruit.
Bread sometimes.
And bread, but not today.
Not today.
There's just soup today.
Soup and juice.
Soup and juice.
The soup is carried back to the tents in plastic buckets, the same buckets used for other daily chores.
Haitian, se puerco.
I feel like a pig at feeding time, this man tells me.
We've had complaints of the food at both the Haitian and the Cuban camps, and I realize that there's a balance here. You have to feed 40,000 people that you weren't counting on a month ago, but it did look pretty dismal to us.
It is dismal. I will make no apologies for the fact that the food is not good. It isn't good. As we get more food in, we'll start to vary the menu more, but right now the complaints are legitimate.
The military is obviously overwhelmed by the thousands of refugees, and they keep coming. As the sun sets over Guantanamo Bay, fresh from the sea, 54 more Haitians step off a bus and through the gates of Camp McCullough.